Hello and welcome to another edition of Hogan's Headlines. This is episode 3. Welcome back and thank you so much for joining me on another episode. If you think that the audio may sound a little bit different, you are correct. I'm actually recording here in my apartment rather than at school at California State University of Long Beach, as I am currently sick and unable to head to the studio. I really wanted to keep up with the episodes though, so I've decided to record here in my home. This is going to be a little bit different of a session and episode per usual. I know that last week I mentioned that the earlier episodes in the week will come as recaps of the previous weekend, and then the later episode in the week will be the preview for the upcoming weekend. But I really wanted to dive into a different topic for this episode and focus solely, I can't speak right now, I apologize, on the NBA playoffs that are coming up in about 6 weeks. The NBA playoffs are probably my favorite thing in sports. They always seem super intense and interesting. You just never know who's going to win and lose. And I'm just so excited for them as usual. And I love the addition of the play-in tournament that was added into the NBA playoffs just a few years ago. To look forward to the NBA playoffs, it's going to be starting. Sorry, let me check the dates here. I'm pretty sure it's April 11th through the 14th is the play-in tournament, and the first round of the NBA playoffs starts on April 15th. So essentially 6 weeks from right now, as of this recording on February 28th, I I wanted to see how close I can get to the actual standings and who's going to win the NBA awards. So this is what the episode's going to focus on. Let's just dive right in. So right now, I'm going to start off with the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go 1 through 10. I'm not going to matter about the bottom 5 in each conference, and just go through the East and the West, and then after I'm done with that, I'll jump into the awards. And I'm going to call back on this episode when the playoffs and play-in starts to see just how accurate I was. For the East, I got the Milwaukee Bucks taking the 1 spot. They are right now on a 14-game win streak. They are rolling, to say the least, and I think that they are just above the Boston Celtics for the 1 seed. Right now, they're tied at evenly matched for the 1 spot, but I do think that they will pull ahead just a little bit, and the Celtics will take the 2 spot in the East, probably within 3 to 4 games of the Bucks. And in the 3 spot, right now the Sixers hold it, but I actually think the Cleveland Cavaliers will take it. They actually hold the second easiest remaining schedule for the next 6 weeks or 5-ish weeks. And I think that they will take advantage of that and actually capture the 3 seed, leaving the 76ers to go to the 4 seed as they hold the hardest remaining schedule. I love Joel Embiid, I love James Harden, I love Doc Rivers, but I just think that with the hardest schedule remaining and the teams that they have yet to come, it's just not going to be easy for them. And I think that they will drop a few games and probably fall within a game or two of the Cavaliers and just miss out on the spot that they're currently holding, which is 3. In the 5 seed, okay, Mitch mentioned for Sixers in the 4 seed. In the 5 seed, I do think the Knicks will take it. They are currently remaining in the 5 seed, if I'm not mistaken, and they are on a 6-game win streak. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and I think that they are also rolling, not as much as the Bucks are, but they're a really like great and stacked team, if I may say. I love Tom Thibodeau. I love the addition of Jalen Brunson. He is balling. He is on another level right now. And if you say otherwise, you are lying to yourself. If you don't know now, my favorite podcast ever is the Old Man and the Three featuring JJ Redick, and he went off and mentioned how Jalen Brunson is one of the best guards in the NBA right now. Please go and check that out because he is absolutely right. He is statistically on an absolute tear, and I think that he is one player to watch for the remaining season. He may jump up into the MVP odds. I don't think he has a chance of winning MVP, but I think that he has a chance to make his odds jump into maybe like 7 or 8 because right now he's probably around like 11 or 12. Um, In the 6th seed, I do have the Miami Heat taking it. Right now, they are set in the 7th spot, and they're only 2 games away from the current 6th seed, but I do think that they will pick up a few games ahead. I don't know exactly where their strength of schedule lies, but I do think they are a really good team. I think that they've been battling injuries. They've been battling just losing games by 2 to 3 points and just not really capturing at the last second. But I like the Heat. I think they're a great team. I think that they are really talented. They have Bam Adebayo, who's one of the best defensive players in the league. They obviously have Jimmy Buckets. They have Tyler Hero. They have Duncan Robinson. We know what they have. We know who they are. We know that they made the NBA Finals just a couple years ago in the bubble. And I think that we can't disrespect what they have on their team. We can't disrespect Eric Spoelstra. I think that they are a really good team. I think that they've just been hit with a couple misfortunes. But I do think that they will pick up a few games, maybe jump up to the 6th spot and just miss out on doing the play in. Now, for the play in the East, I do have the 7th seed being the Brooklyn Nets. They are 3-7 in their last 10 games. So right now they're on a bit of a cold streak. But I think that where their current standings are will definitely help for being in the playing game, if that makes sense. Because being with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for a good portion of the season definitely allowed them to be far ahead in the standings. And they are at one point, I think they're even like the 3 spot or the 2 spot in the East. So they're definitely not where they once were. Right now, they're currently holding the 6th spot. But I think having the 6th spot out right now benefits them to a huge degree into just staying in the playoffs. Because right now they are 9 games back of the 1 spot in comparison to teams like the Hawks, the Raptors, and whatnot, who are 12, 13, 14, who just don't really, I think, can match that amount of wins to jump them up ahead of the Nets. I think that the Nets are just in a really good spot, and I think that they can kind of hover around the sub 500 level and just keep them in the play-in tournament. In the 8th spot, I have the Raptors. They are on a really good streak right now. They've won 7 of the last 10. They're 30-32 at the moment, but they are 19-13 at home, which I think is huge. They are an amazing team at home. They always have been playing in the North. I think that a lot of teams get a little nervous playing in the only other country that other than the US. I know that makes sense. Sorry. That was a kind of weird segue. But I think that the Raptors are a phenomenal team at home, yet they are just 11-19 away. I have a lot of faith in the Raptors. I think that Chris Bouchard is one of the players that I love watching. And I just love what the team currently has. I love the team's strengths, which are just being gritty and not quitting. They're one of the only teams within that like 6 to end of the East standings that actually have a plus differential. Um, and it's plus 0.5. So they stay in games. They just have a hard time closing them. In the 9th spot, I will take the Atlanta Hawks. Right now, they are around the same standing wise as the Raptors with 8 and 9. I'm just going to have them flip. And I love the addition of Quinn Snyder at coach, and I like getting rid of Nate McMillan. I think that he is a good coach, but I just don't think it fit with the team, and it fit with Trae Young specifically. But I really am a big fan of Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder, I love what he did in Utah, and I feel like he didn't really get a chance to kind of prove himself again after their playoff losses. But I think that he will do great with Trae Young. I think that he can really bring out his positives in his shooting and in his offensive explosions that he has at moments. And I would love to just see the Hawks pick up a couple more games. And I think that they will stay around the same level as they are. I just think the Raptors have a little bit better of a chance at jumping them. Rounding up the play-in tournament, right now, the current 10th seed is the Washington Wizards. I'm actually going to take the Chicago Bulls to take the 10th spot. Only because I don't trust the Wizards. I like Bradley Beal. I like Kyle Kuzma. I like some things about the Wizards. I like more things about the Bulls. Right now, the Bulls are currently just a half game behind the Wizards. Excuse me. But they are also, alongside the Raptors, one of the only teams that has a plus differential in that play-in tournament section. They are plus zero point 0.8, which means they score plus zero point 0.8 more points than another team. They are a really talented team. DeMar DeRozan is obviously, we know who he is. Alex Caruso is a solid player. I think that Nikola Jokic is great. Zach LaVine's great. The team is stacked with talent, but injuries have destroyed this team. They have Lonzo Ball, who has not stepped foot on the court this year. Alex Caruso is out for a number of games. DeMar DeRozan's they've all missed a number of games. The Bulls actually waived Goran Dragic just a little bit earlier today. It's the team has had quite the year of struggling, but I don't really know if it's their own fault. I think it's just been, again, like the Heat, they have just been have such unfortunate luck in losing close games, but also I know that they were just in the middle of a game a couple weeks ago that had a 50-point differential, so I'm not gonna get into that. But I like the Bulls. I think that they will actually jump the Wizards and take that last spot in the play-in. Will they go far? No. I don't even think they would beat the Nets, honestly. But I think that maybe. Oh well, I don't know. Maybe. I'll just put it at that. But yeah, that's my 1 through 10 for the East. And I'm gonna go 1 through 10 from the West. Number one, no question about it, Denver Nuggets. They are not going to lose the one spot. That team is unbelievable. Home wise, they are 28-4. They just do not lose at home. Yet they are actually 500 away. They're 15-15, but they are just an unbelievable team in the West too. They're 30-12 in the West. They're 7-3 in their last 10. I don't really know how else to put it. They are just incredible. They are the best team. They are 5.5 games ahead of the second seed. The team's winning the West. Number two, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. They currently hold the second seed in the spot, second seed in the West. I'm sorry, being sick is like taking over me, my talking skills. But number two, as I said, Memphis Grizzlies. They are an amazing team at home as well, 25-5. Yet away, they have some serious struggles. They are 11-18. I do think that teams are coming after them, especially away, because of they are a team that plays with so much emotion, and they have so much emotion on their team. We all know about the John Morant comments about saying that there's no one to be feared in the West. I like the team. I don't know how they're going to shape up against other teams in the West, because I think the West is back to being pretty stacked, but I do think that they can still remain the same team to capture that two spot. In the three spot, I do have the Phoenix Suns. Right now, that three spot is being held by the Sacramento Kings, but I do think the Suns will take over the three spot, as the addition of Kevin Durant is monumental. They are a team that I think has the best chance of winning the West other than the Denver Nuggets. I love Kevin Durant's addition. I love Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Torrey Craig. Their team is unbelievable. I don't really know how and what to do to stop the team. Also, I love Monty Williams, who's their head coach. The team is unbelievable. We all know that. I don't exactly know who is going to stop them besides the Denver Nuggets. In the fourth spot, I do have the Kings staying in that area, which would be their first playoff berth in I don't know how many years. Way too many. But the Kings will take the fourth spot. The one thing that I think the Kings have that a lot of other teams don't possess is the skill to go as good home as they do away. Because they are currently 18-12 at home and 17-13 away. So they are the same team relatively on the home and away side. They are a team that's won their last three. They are, I don't really know exactly what to say about them, as they are ultra talented with De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis. There's a ton of other players I'm missing. I'll get into the coach of the year aspect later on with Mike Brown, but I love the team. I love the beam. I think the team is playing on an unreal pace and an unreal aura and energy, just because they know that nothing can stop them mentally, even though I don't really think that is the case. They have so much faith in themselves, which I think is the best part about the team. And I love the De'Aaron Fox comments where they're not scared of anybody. I know that's kind of hypocritical, as John Morant said nearly the same thing, um, which I don't really know how to defend in a way, but I like the way that De'Aaron Fox is coming out of it because he's not afraid of anybody. The whole team's not afraid of anybody, just like the Grizzlies. So I think the Kings have a lot of opportunity to make a big run in the West. In the five spot, I do have the Clippers remaining in the five spot. They're another team like the Kings who are relatively the same home and away, as they're 15 and 14 at home and 18 and 16 away. So they're actually a little bit better away, which is interesting. The one thing I don't like about the Clippers is that I think that a lot of their games come down to the wire, and I think that they can just win by the skin of their teeth. They've lost the last two games that they've played. I have faith in Ty Lue, and I have faith in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but if this is another year where they fall apart in the first or second round, where exactly do you go after that? Do you try to restructure deals with Kawhi and Paul George? Do you maybe trade one of them? Most likely that would be Paul George, even though I don't really know if you can. I am not exactly sure where this team is heading because they also added Russell Westbrook and they have Eric Gordon, yet they got rid of key pieces. I don't really know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. They could remain in the five spot. I could also see them slipping down into like the play-in tournament. Like I really just don't know exactly where to go. That's also like just the West in general. There's so many teams in one condensed area where we have currently as constructed, the Phoenix Suns are in the four spot and they are 10 games behind the first seed. From the four spot all the way down to the 13 spot, there's a 4 game difference. So any team can make a gigantic leap at any moment. And we've been seeing this as with wins or losses, teams are jumping out of the play-in tournament and back in and out of the playoff contention. It's just been craziness. I don't think we're ever going to see anything like this again just because of so many teams. But we'll see where the Clippers go. But for right now, I'll keep them in the five spot. Six spot, Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to keep them there at the six spot. Sorry, this is getting a little just me like reading off the standings right now. But no, I do think the Mavericks are going to take the sixth spot. A lot of analysts are worried about the Kyrie and Luka fit. I think that we need to just give them a little more time to gel and let them kind of get into their groove, keep it up. I think that they have a ton of talent, and I do think that they will end up being a good fit together for the time being. I don't think Kyrie's going to stay there after the season, but I do think that he will still put in a ton of effort and a ton of all his talent into keeping them into the sixth spot. I I love Luka. I think that he is ultra talented. I think he'll be an MVP, multiple time MVP, multiple time champion. I don't think this is the season that he will get his first championship, and I don't exactly know which players fit in for him best right now. But once he starts to develop a little bit more of a arsenal, and he has a ton of experience playing professional basketball, dating back to when he was 15, 16 years old, as in Europe, and I just love the team's ability to kind of flex around and have other people move around. I like Christian Wood. I think the team has a lot of potential. I just don't know if that potential will jump them up more than the sixth spot. Maybe the five. I can see the Clippers and Mavericks maybe switching, but for right now, I'm going to keep it the way it is. Seventh spot. So the play-in tournament is what I'm most excited for in the West because there are so many teams that could make a run. One team that I think could grab the seventh spot. I tore between the 7 and 8. I flipped them like three times because I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. But I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm not gonna let bias jump my brain. So seventh spot, I'm gonna take the Warriors. Right now, they still hold the seventh spot. Where I, it's so hard to speak on the topic because I actually don't love the team. I think that they are not as good as we actually think they are, but they're the remaining champions. Like they won the chip last year. They still have Steph Curry. They still have Klay Thompson. Draymond Green's still there. Jonathan Kuminga is still there. Steve Kerr's still the coach. I can't knock the team. They've won 4 championships in the last 6, 7, 8 years. They're an amazing team. They're unbelievable at home, just like the Nuggets. They're 24-7. Well, Nuggets 28-4, but Warriors 24-7. But here's the problem: they're 7-23 away. They cannot buy a win when they're away. In the beginning of the season, they couldn't. I don't think they got an away win in like 2 months, a month. I can't remember what it was, but it was something crazy. So the team can only play at home. But I do like the team, but don't love the team. It's a like but not love. I'm gonna keep them in the 7 spot just because they're the remaining champions, and that's what I'm gonna give them. The 8 spot, I'm actually gonna give to my Lakers. Now I don't love the odds as much as I did yesterday because found out today that LeBron's gonna be out at least 2 weeks, so that's a huge blow. But I do like the team overall. Jared Vanderbilt's still there. AD, D'Lo's out, but he'll be back soon. Malik Beasley went off just a few nights ago. Mo Bamba's still there. Dennis Schroeder's still there. I like the team. I think that even with LeBron out, they can still pick up a few wins as they have the fifth easiest remaining schedule. I like the team's odds over other ones just because of their, how do I say it, playoff mentality. Let's say that. Because they're taking every game, just like a lot of other teams are, but they're taking every game as it's the playoffs. And that every game matters just as much as every other game would. So I love the Lakers right now. They've won their last 3. They play tonight against the Grizzlies in Memphis. So we'll have to just see where that goes. If they end up getting the win tonight, I'll have a lot more faith in them without LeBron, and I would love to see AD go absolutely mental today. But I'm gonna just leave it in the 8th seed for now, and that they take the play-in tournament. If LeBron was completely healthy, I could see them jumping up to the 7, maybe even the 6th seed. But I think an 8th seed is a good probably about area to put him in. Now the 9th seed, I got Portland, and I really am a big fan of what Damian Lillard is doing right now, and just like everybody else's. The man is on a tear like no other. He scored 71 points just a few days ago. He has scored. Let me pull the stat up so I don't get it incorrect because he deserves everything that he has been doing recently. I need to pull up the exact stat that I saw. Here we go. Damian Lillard becomes first player in NBA history to score over 70 points in under 40 minutes. The man's a bucket. He's crazy. Under 40 minutes? How? How do you do that? It's crazy. He's getting drug tested yesterday after the 71 point barrage that he had. He has been. This kind of experience that I'm right now with Dame Lillard is a lot like, I wouldn't say prime Kobe, but it's what Kobe was doing in early 2006 and 7 when he was on 40, 50 point runs every day. I think that he deserves a chance for MVP, even though the team has kind of sucked the entire year and they've been super up and down. I think that he still deserves a few votes for MVP because he deserves them. He has carried the team on his back with no one else on the team. In the 10 spot, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. I am worried about the team with Zion not there. They've lost their last 4 games. They're 4-6 in their last 10. The team they're currently in the 10 spot, and they're a game under the Jazz, who are currently in the 8, and a half game under the Timberwolves, who are at the 9. And you can notice right now I did not put the Jazz or the Timberwolves into the playoffs, but I will get into that in just a second. I could easily see the Pelicans not being in the playoffs this year, but because I have faith in the return of Zion Williamson. If he comes back and only plays about 3-4 games and is out for another week, I can't trust him, and I don't think they're making the playoffs. But if they can keep Zion healthy and he remains for every game, I'm gonna say it every single game until the season is over and the playoffs play-in tournament is happening, then I can put him in the 10th spot. But if Zion does not come back either this year, which he'll be back, but if he does not come back or if he misses another multiple games after he comes back, I'm putting the Jazz there. That's just me. With the Timberwolves, one of the reasons I don't have them in the playoffs is because they have the third hardest remaining schedule. They've also lost their last three. They are the only team right now who have a negative differential and are currently in the Western playoffs or play in. They traded D'Lo. They right now have Mike Conley. I just they also only hold a half game ahead of the Pelicans and Trailblazers, who are tied for the 10th spot, and they're only a game above the Lakers, who are at the 12th spot. So I just don't see them winning enough games to keep them afloat, and I just don't really see where they are going to go. I just think that they know they don't trust themselves, and they're not ready for the playoffs, so they're not going to make it. One team I do want to give some love to is the OKC Thunder, who are the only team who are not in the Western playoffs contention at the moment and have a plus difference. So they actually have a plus 1.2, which is better than the Clippers, the Mavericks, the Warriors, the Jazz, Pelicans. It's nearly as good as the Suns. So they win their games by a lot, but they also lose by a little. So they really have to win these closer games, and then I'll give them some love. They've also lost their last three. One last thing I want to say before I jump into the awards is I feel sorry for every San Antonio Spurs fan out there as they've lost their last 16 games. And they suck. Sorry, I had to just bash the Spurs for a second. Let's jump into the awards predictions. And I'm going to give you guys the option. Who do you think is going to win MVP? Do you think it's Giannis, Joel Embiid, or Nikola Jokic? Because it's going to be one of those three. And there's not a chance it's anybody else. Me personally, I think it's Nikola Jokic all the way. I think that voter fatigue will come into effect if he doesn't win. If he doesn't win, it's all voter fatigue to me. He is definitely the one that deserves it the most, with the Nuggets having the season that they're having at the moment. And I think that Nikola Jokic deserves to be a 3-time in a row MVP winner. I just love his game. I love his tenacity. I love his intensity. I love the way that he also plays very softly in a way. He is so fragile with the ball. He protects it, yet lets it fly. He's a great player. He's an amazing player. In my opinion, he is the best player in the world, but it's close. Joel Embiid definitely deserves some love, and Giannis definitely deserves some love. I think the one thing holding Joel Embiid back is that Jokic's team, the Nuggets, and Giannis's team, the Bucks, are both going to win their conferences, which I think in turn takes Joel Embiid out of winning the MVP. If his team was first in the East, yes, things would be different. I think that he would deserve some love for it, and he might even win it. But I think that when you are the only player outside the other two that don't have one seed in the conference, I think that not automatically takes you out, but it definitely hinders your chance of winning it. Rookie of the year is definitely Paolo Banchero. I don't want to say his name incorrectly. Paolo Banchero. If I did, I apologize. Incredible. He's averaging 19.9 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game, nearly one steal and a half block per game. He's going to be one of the best players in the league in 5 to 7 years. I'm super, super excited to see what he's got. And I really, really hope he stays on the Magic. I love what the Magic are. I think they know what they are, and they try and they play so hard. I don't think they have enough pieces to make a run in the playoffs or even get to the playoffs. But once they do have a little bit more talent, a little bit more experience, I think that Magic could jump into the play-in tournament. Maybe next year. I think that it definitely could happen within the next 3 years, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Magic pick up a couple more dudes over the summer and end up being in the play-in tournament next year and being a hard team to beat. Most improved player, I think it's also no doubt going to be Larry Markkinen. 25.2 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, nearly 2 assists, zero point 0.6 steals, and blocks. Him on the Jazz had been the perfect fit. He is that team alongside Jordan Clarkson. I have nothing else to say. That's all I'm going to say. He is the team. He's amazing. Give him his flowers. Give him the most improved player. Coach of the year. This is one that I think will come down to the wire. Mazzulla or Brown? Celtics or Kings? Right now, the Celtics hold a record of 44-18, and the Kings hold a record of 35-25. I do think this will come into effect into who wins Coach of the Year, even though I think personally Mike Brown deserves it. I think Mazzulla will actually take it with the whole story revolving around what the Celtics had to go through with their previous coach. And I do think that with them having a better record, it's going to actually vault them into him winning Coach of the Year. He definitely deserves it. Excuse me. He definitely deserves it. But I do think Mike Brown is just a little bit more worthy of it. Okay. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to give it to Jaren Jackson Jr. He has held players to 43.7% average, and that's actually a 4.9% lower shooting average than any other player, which is great. He has the best defensive win shares, which is 0.152. He is currently averaging 16.7 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, 1.1 steals, and a whopping 3.2 blocks per game. He's been an absolute menace defensively. He's taken his game up another couple notches. I think that he has a great chance of winning multiple Defensive Player of the Years if he keeps this streak up. I think that he is similar play style of Rudy Gobert. He doesn't grab as many rebounds as Rudy Gobert, but I just love his ability to block shots. I think that Bam Adebayo definitely deserves some love as well, and Brook Lopez too. He's been a defensive menace for years, but I think that this year Jaren Jackson Jr. has the best chance of winning it, and I think he deserves it as well. That's actually going to end it for this episode. I need to go recover and rest so that I'm healthy and ready for the next episode and not coughing in between takes. But thank you for listening. If you have any recommendations, comments, concerns with this podcast, feel free to reach out to me. I love it and I want to do as best as I can. So if you have anything, just tell me. Again, thank you for listening and have a great rest of your day.